Perfect.
Yes.
This
Welcome
one had
back
to be
PopCorn.
blessed.
Blessed?
Blessed
You have
with
to
a
do the
perfect.
thing. Or I guess it's a reverse camera. Welcome back to Popcorn Poppin. My name's Tony, and this is our first take.
Of course it is. This is our first perfect. Oh, and I'm Dan. Hi.
Yeah, manners, Dan. This audience needs to know who you are.
They haven't
This is most of
seen
their first
my
times.
face and heard my voice by now, then they are a foreigner and they should be exiled from the podcast.
Ah, you sound like an American. I'm glad
Yeah.
you finally committed. Welcome to Popcorn Poppin'. This is my friend Dan. We talk
my
about a
friend
lot
Tony.
of stuff and things, and today we're going to talk about a little bit of Loki. If you haven't watched our channel before or listened to our podcast on Mandatory Party Hats before, we like to discuss movies. First off, because we like the smooth sounds of our voices. Also, for me, I like to discuss things in an environment where someone else may watch or listen and say, "Oh, I never thought about it that way. Thank you." Why do you do this?
I do this so that I get to regularly talk to you, and that's predominantly it. And also, I mean, it's otherwise hard. I can't just like go out my front porch and just yell like, "Does anybody want to talk about Loki?"
Someone's bound to be like, "Yeah, I got you."
Somebody's about they just pop their head out the window like, "Hey, I thought this recent episode was pretty good."
Quick anecdote. One of my favorite out of nowhere conversations was taxi driving. 5 people that were completely separate, completely taking different trips, and there was silence and the radio was broken. And I was like, "So, did anyone watch Game of Thrones last night?" And everyone in the van goes, "Oh my God, this.
Exactly.
And that type of shit is why I do this.
That's why we do this.
So we've
because
done one
we're hoping
episode.
That
Yeah,
the internet
for sure.
will be our taxi patrons. We are the
Yeah.
taxi, and you are the taxi riders.
Riders.
Actually, we're probably going to need a bus and able to get so that we can get all the passengers on.
well, plus
At least we hope
most of
it's a bus. We hope that there's more than just a taxi's worth of listeners. But I am so off point now.
Well, no, because I need to be on that point with you for a second, because you do realize that half of the people we know in life don't know what taxis are. That's how old we are.
Is that really true?
I mean, they would know what ride shares are, not taxis. Like, I've heard of those. This sounds stupid.
It's something so antiquated like a phone booth or like a
Yeah.
payphone.
Have you used a phone booth before? You're old as fuck. You probably use a phone booth before.
I'm like a year and a half older than you.
You know the months? Do you know when my birthday is?
No, I'm just guesstimating. To be real, we're
stunner.
good friends, but we're not that good friends.
That's fair. I don't know any of my friends' birthdays. So Loki's a show.
Loki's a
you
show.
Guys,
We watched it.
if you haven't watched the show before, you should watch it now. Okay, you're back. We're not going to go over the plots of 3 and 4. Instead, we are going to just talk about what you just watched. And what I just watched were 2 fairly good episodes. Episode 3, I was a little disappointed at the new character that they brought in, which is the character of Sylvie, aka Other Loki or Female Loki. And episode 4 was all right as well. But let's dive right in. What do you think of Sylvie? Do I ask that question again?
You can ask that question again because it's the first take.
I feel like it's
remember?
important because she's a very new character.
Yeah. As with a lot of this show, I like the idea of Sylvie more than I like the character.
So it's kind of like Coca-Cola, where you like the idea of it more than you actually
I didn't
like
understand that the first time you said it, and I still don't understand it the second time around.
It's a role models reference. Go on.
Anyway, it's like it's great that she's introduced at a point where I thought that like the show was going in interesting directions. It's just kind of unfortunate that we hit another point in this series. Episode 4 is always rough for these Marvel shows.
It's that second act thing that we've discussed before,
yeah,
right?
It's a second act issue, but it also it kind of starts showing that like the show has played all its cards. I think WandaVision did this as well. Like episode 4, I was really turned off, and it's always this issue, almost like a new relationship, where it's like you've seen everything that this thing has to offer, and you're trying to figure out if that's still clicking with you, or if maybe you just kind of need to like move on. Is it stale? Is it going somewhere? And as with Marvel products, I will continue sticking around, but yeah, the
lull has happened.
The lull has happened, but I also feel like I've visually seen like all the sets and locations that they've been in. So when they start returning to certain locations, I'm kind of like, well, this is kind of drab now that I see it again. And I feel that same way, especially about the interaction between Loki and Sylvie, where at first I was like, okay, you know what? This interaction is fun. And as episode 3 goes on and then episode 4 begins, I'm kind of like, is there more to this? Is there more? Or have I kind of seen what this aspect of the show has to offer?
I feel like that their relationship is going to be a little more different than not. There was a conversation with them at the bar, and I feel, long story short, I feel like Walt Disney reneges on, we're introducing a gay character, because they've announced it a few times. Look it up. I won't explain it, and I never would explain it at too long of a pace. But just like Gaston's right-hand man, Josh Gad, in the new Beauty and the Beast film, they introduced him as the first like openly gay character, but in the movie there's not like an actual like voice for that. Yeah. Now, one of the things that I read about episode 3 was that Loki's he's a gay character somehow. And I didn't see it until after the article, and watching the scene, he asks, "Who's your beau?" And she said, I look out for myself, which I actually like, because I get tired of female characters that need a man. It's kind of like the, what's the test? What's the tests? Bell?
Yeah, the test to see if there is like a feminist
female
voice
character
talking to another female character about something other than a man.
Correct. And I think one thing that we need to get better with is having no man in a strong female character's life. She goes, "No, I'm looking out for me," blah, blah, blah. But she asks, is there a princess in your life or something? And or a beau? And he somehow subtly said like, both.
A bit of both, yeah.
But, I never had time for that. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, but I wouldn't say it's revolutionary. And for that controversial reason, I kind of wish that Walt Disney would just say, hey, let's just have a gay character that's actually a voice, not just a little nudge.
Wink.
But point being, yeah, go on. I'm sorry, you had a point.
No, you finish your point before I hop in here.
Okay, sorry. With their conversation, their chemistry is very, very different. I was disappointed with Sylvie's not introduction, because her introduction was at the end of episode 2, and it was the revelation that, well, it's not quite the same Loki, but a different type of Loki. And I was thinking this character would be a lot more interesting, and she's a little less interesting. However, the least interesting part about her is her overdone buddy cop dialogue with Loki of like, I don't like you and you don't like me, so let's do some one-liners that you've heard 1,000 times. And they go through that, but there's a somewhat sweet scene of them in the bar asking if there's one in each other's lives and whatnot, or them actually agreeing with each other and whatnot. There's actually some good chemistry there that I believed at first with just the characters asking, like, is there someone in your life? I never took that as like they had a romantic chemistry. However, the chemistry I liked was them getting along because whether you be a conspiracy theorist of like, if I met another me, I'd have to kill him. It could also be if I met another me, I would actually love them in the way of like get along and whatnot. So point is, I really like their chemistry a lot in that episode, and it was like the one thing that made me hold on a little better. And I have more to say on that later.
Yeah, I'll say, I again like the idea of this character more than I like the execution or the back and forth. The kind of the crux of Sylvie is not just that she is a female identifying version of Loki, but she's also a version of Loki with no privilege. Like, Loki comes into the show feeling mopey and bad for himself, even though like he's failed and lost all these shenanigans. He still is able to bounce back constantly and like appreciate some degree of power, whereas a female version of that character has been deprived that same power as her male counterpart for her whole life. And so she has had to basically fend for herself and take her life into her own hands because she is not like permitted that base level of power. She has not been cared about her entire life. She's not had like people, despite all of the bad shit that she's done or he's done, she has not had people who will like give her forgiveness and a second chance and everything. So it does like reveal a lot of the privilege that Loki has experienced as a character. And I think that that's deliberate because the other element of her kind of sorrow and her driving movement as a character is that she was abducted by the TVA for no reason whatsoever other than she was not supposed to exist, which is, again, just, it's a tough call. And to be like, well, charismatic vanilla white Loki was just the paradigm Loki. Like, why does that get to be a thing? How is that fair? So honestly, if the entire show, if there was just like 5 episodes of these two characters just talking and not in that Joss Whedon-y quippy way, I think I would have enjoyed that a lot more. And unfortunately, that kind of gets shoehorned into this one episode where they have to have that Joss Whedon-y kind of banter back and forth, and they have to punch guys and get into like a big conspiracy cover-up and whatnot. But there are, like you said, on the train, a few like genuinely sweet moments between the characters. And it's also just like, it's further character examination of Loki, of like, is he truly narcissistic, or is he like lacking a certain degree of like self-respect and like self-worth that he's trying to find in conversation with like the person who would get him the most?
And I would say that Sylvie's character kind of brings that out of him as well. I have said before that I'm tired of Loki and I don't see anything into his redemption story, which this is what it's supposed to be. Even though we've done it a few times.
Let's be real. One thing really quick is that they are going out of their way to try and have us forget that he has murdered so many people and that Sylvie has murdered so many people. So like in the fight scenes and everything, even when the world is ending and all these people are going to die, they never lethally kill somebody because it's like we need everybody to forget that these two characters have killed so many people.
But I also think that that's an I think like, I'm not good with assessing themes and whatnot, but I would call this whole tale a redemption. Like, can you change the person that you used to be?
Yeah.
Realize regret, go through all these things. I do completely agree that there is a point, and I would say it's somewhere in episode 3 where it's like, we're going to act like none of that happened.
Right.
And they continuously do shenanigans, but one thing I still will say I'm tired of Loki, but there are still little. I will give the show the credit where it's due. Even though my initial reaction to the Loki, like Sylvie falls asleep, I believe, and she wakes up to Loki like singing with the rest of the bar, and he sings in Asgardian. And the scene ends, and like all the scene was put there for plot wise was just to have people come in and go, you don't belong on this train, and blah blah.
Yeah.
However, and like I was angry at the scene, I was very angry, but there was that one moment where he's singing Asgardian and he goes like soft, and like he actually remembers Asgard and his life and probably his mother and all of this, and it goes back to la 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 la. But that one moment, I was like, all right, it's very hokey and whatnot, but I actually, and I'll give it to Tom Hiddleston, I believe that like I see some little sparkling light that I don't want to see because I am so tired of Loki.
Tired of Loki.
But
Yeah.
they're doing it. They're trying ananyway and whatnot.
Well, the other thing that I appreciate is that so far they seem to be trying a different kind of Loki, where it is a little bit of backpedaling, because Loki, I think for a long time really did represent this kind of like plucky, overly charismatic and smarmy version of Marvel that existed with the Avengers and stuck around for a long time. And part of me is a little bit glad that like they're sort of moving away from that. I'm not entirely sure what that voice is moving to, but I was really fatigued by that version of Loki.
Yeah, I was fatigued as well, and I'm glad that they didn't fully say like, because this show was created out of fanfare, 100%. There's no reason for this character to be in this universe anymore. There wasn't a reason after Avengers, and I don't give a shit what anyone says about it. At least after Thor 2, guys. Come on. But in any case, we had him in Ragnarok. He was funny. Thank God he died in Endgame, or Infinity War, whatever.
Endgame,
but
yeah.
died, but of course comes back. But the show is made out of fanfare. And if you're going to, I like that if you're going to actually technically bring back a dead character, that you're going to be like, okay, we're going to bring back Loki, but we have to change him, guys. Because not only is this a mischievous character that learns but doesn't really learn, but you still love him, but like a character that, to me, at least from I've interpreted, is a character that is actually seeking like solace for what he's done in life, but also looking for maybe nothing like a clear goal to like, I want this MacGuffin or I want this family or whatnot, but like an actual mood and whatnot.
I think that that's also an important element that at first kind of seems like an oversight, but I think might be intentional, is that we really don't know Loki's endgame. Like, currently,
not anymore. Not with this Loki.
He's just sort of surviving, and I think that that's like, I don't know if that's deliberate in the writing or if that's just me extrapolating in this situation, but I think it does work with the character, because like this is sort of like an internal search for him to figure out like, okay, why am I existing? Why do I want to achieve like ultimate power? Why? You know, all of these things.
Well,
and
I would argue, I mean, at least to me, I think that his end game is like figuring out I think his end game is kind of like the audience's perspective of knowing who the timekeepers are, because he knows that something is up. And him stating, is this the ultimate, or questioning, is this the ultimate power in the universe? In episode 1, I feel like that was like him, that question was him like, I need to solve this answer because I don't know. I used to think I was the shit, but they're the shit, and I don't understand why, and I need to know what it is. That's what my thing is.
Yeah, but I think of the paradigm that shifts is that in episode 1 it was what is this power? I need to control it, and now it's just more of a what is this power? I want to understand it.
Yeah, because old Loki definitely would want to control the ultimate power of the universe, but Anyway, because we got to jump on some things.
But I also we got onto like Sylvie and her introduction, which is a big aspect of episode 3. But what I liked even more was that it set up like a new neat little like one episode world and story, and kept like the overall arc driving forward as well, because the setting for episode 3 I think was super cool, because they're hopping into these different cataclysms and the world ending, and they happen to accidentally find themselves on a like outpost on a planet where the moon is like actively crashing into the world, and it's revealed through things that are just like overheard that basically the working class is being told that they can't get on like this train that is delivering the bourgeoisie to...
Dude, that was such a small... I love your appreciation of this, but they never ever like touched on it again.
Yeah,
they did it all
vapid.
with audio in the background, like, oh, they won't let us in. We've been waiting for hours. Back to Loki and them getting on the train, and we'll never talk about what happened to them again.
What happened to them again, because ultimately this comes back to Loki and everything. But
that was interesting.
My point, moreover, being that like they introduced this little microcosm of a world separate from everything that has happened so far, and they did it within a few minutes. And like if they had continued that, where they kept jumping through different apocalypses, like kind of in episode 2 where it's explained people are hiding out in this mall or warehouse or whatever because this hurricane is about to take out this whole town. Like those little instances of hopping into different points at the end of the world, I think make for a much more interesting story than the kind of run of the mill there's a grander scheme, you're all being fooled, we have to convince the other characters that don't trust us that the wool is being pulled over their eyes. And it's just like that stuff's been done a lot in Marvel to some varying degree, but it again just kind of strays away a little bit from, I think, what I see to be the essence of the show, being that character study of Loki, as revealed through like different periods in time when the world is ending and he knows that he's going to be fine, like to some varying degree. It's not like totally understood within episode 3 that he's going to be fine, because the cliffhanger makes it seem like he's super not going to be fine. But no, he's the protagonist. He's going to go on. I just found those couple of elements within episodes 2 and 3 really interesting, and then was pretty disappointed when that was kind of abandoned for a lot of just basically mining a lot of plot heavy stuff in episode 4.
I will agree that I found the little set of breadcrumbs of them introducing that, and I knew it was going to happen. The scene where he poses as a security guard, bringing her onto the ship. The opening of that scene is them going through passengers saying, "Why? We've been waiting for hours, this and that." I knew that they were never going to go back to that. Or if they would, it would be him and Sylvie failing to get on the ship and then meeting like a cast of rebels, and they're like, oh, our fight is this, and they're like, well, we don't care about your fight, we just want to get on the ship, and we never will care about it. And then like a kid would die and they'd be like, wow, we care about this, maybe we should fight for it. I was expecting all that shit to happen.
I think
none of it happened.
But I guess the point where I see it's okay, and again, this isn't something that impacts like the main plot. It's basically just a very small microcosm of a story told, is that even the bourgeoisie and their super swanky bar on this fancy train are like, those people are fucked too. Like, they were never going to get off this planet. They were basically just being like pampered just to be placated and not have like more uproar. So it is a doomsday story because it's explained that the reason they can go into these different apocalypses and do anything and it won't change is because everybody in that situation dies. So it's like, to see how the inevitability of class in all of that, again, playing with the existential themes of the story, is that, yeah, your wealth got you like a more comfortable demise, but that's it. Like, in the end, it didn't matter. You're just as fucked as everybody else on this planet.
Another reason why I like doing these shows is because you blow my mind with some shit like that. Never thought about it like that.
I kind of feel
I'd rather it not be there. Fuck that. No, they didn't pay enough attention. They didn't bring it into the plot too much. They didn't do enough with it. I hate when you give me something where it's like, that's kind of interesting, and never bring it up again. It really drives me nuts. However you found solace or whatever in it, fuck that. No, get rid of it. Give me some. Don't give me 7 seconds of dialogue, of very interesting dialogue. Like, when I hear, if I'm walking to a club or something, because I go to clubs often, and I hear someone say, "I've been waiting here for hours. I really want to get in. I was told I was going to get in earlier. I'm still not in the club. What's going on?" When I'm walking past, I'm like, "Hey, that guy's got an interesting story. What's going on there?" I don't like it that you're doing it in a like, personally, if I can get in that club quick, I'm going to go in the club quick because that's what they do. But no, I don't. I mean, you are correct. You're correct with everything with that. I personally would rather it not be there because I don't necessarily need a revelation, but there wasn't much more of a there wasn't a revelation in it whatsoever, and there wasn't a continuation of it. However, there may be more later. I doubt it. But if I would say in this situation specifically, Captain America and White Wolf in that series, Falcon and Winter Soldier, when it came to the story of race and everything, they actually brought that to the forefront. But, I mean, I feel like that's more important. However, there are still side conversations that they would breadcrumb and they would bring up a lot more in the same episode. But I personally don't think that they're going to come back to this, and I would have rather have not had it. But I do agree that that's an interesting take on class and everything. Because that's why it's so interesting that I wanted more of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean... here's the thing, our paths are in parallel and they meet at the end, because I don't disagree with you. I wish I had more of it too. I am glad that it's there. I also agree that it was never going to come back, and I think that that's kind of what I mourn in all of these series, because that specific instance shows that the writers of the show are competent. And they're interesting and they have things to say. And their particular voice will always take a back seat to the corporate body of the Marvel Cinematic products.
I don't know. Let's have more fun. So Mobius is... no, I completely agree with you. I just don't want to harp on it too much because... it's annoying to me. It annoyed me that they introduced it, but I mean, hey, I guess overall my conclusion of it is I'm glad that the writers know that there's a problem like that in the world. I just don't like that they didn't do anything else mess with it whatsoever. Let's mention
Sure,
it a few times
I agree.
and nothing else.
I would love to just see more of that. I guess that's my recurring theme. If anybody has listened to any of our shit about Marvel stuff, is that I just want more of that.
By the way, the main thing that I talked with one of our fans, I won't mention his name. I will say it involves fire, though. Is
you know who you are?
He told me to tell you, Dave, either like Marvel or stop talking about it. And I'm just handing off the message. And I don't think he said that specifically, and I think I'm gonna get a lot of shit for not being specific. He said like Marvel, I believe. But let's go on to something more fun. And it is okay. To get off episode 3 very quickly, the end of it had a faux one camera or one shot action scene, and by faux one shot, and it was what most movies do. Movies caught onto this about 10 years ago, is that long one shots, especially with action. I really want to say that Old Boy brought this perhaps about, but a lot of people recognize it more with Daredevil. Is there's action scenes that look like they're one shot, but if you know, it wasn't one shot. And it's very obvious it isn't one shot. And at the end of episode 3, there's we need to make it to that ship. None of us talk like this, but we need to make it to that ship. And as they're running, it's pretty far away, but it looks like it's across this town. Someone should make a YouTube video of the fight scene that happens, because they don't get half a block. They're mostly fighting in and around this bar, and there's a lot of cuts. But when they notice that the ship left, and they're like, "Oh, we were so close," I really did shout, "You weren't even close at all.
Yeah,
you went 16
so
steps
far in the distance." Yeah, that was a moment that I think was supposed to be a technical sort of wow element in the show. And it's really hard for me to have that, to get that kind of effect, especially since it's so heavily computer generated.
Yeah, and what's crazier about that is that these scenes that actually, what they're doing is they're trying to imitate independent filmmaking, which is crazy to me. And how they imitate it is with more money fucking bullshit, which drives me nuts.
The element of a good one take is that it looks very coordinated with all of the people on screen, all of the moving elements and things like that. And when you remove those very tangible physical things, then it loses its impact. And that's also why I think the fight scenes throughout this whole show fall pretty flat for me, because it's kind of lacking momentum. It's kind of lacking impact, but it's really summarized within that one take, where a lot of the fighting winds up with that one take following these two characters behind their backs, even when they're fighting. And so it just kind of looks like they're wildly swinging at whatever's in front of them. And I'm like, I can't really see that. I can't really see what you're doing. So it's an issue of poor framing for that kind of impact. That, and then it's kind of typical Marvel-y fight scene where it's not in any particular style. It's just are there sweet twirls and flips and things?
No. Now, I mean, yes, I agree, but I'm sure the filmmakers before that scene were okay, let's get ready to do this. This is going to be our big finale. And I won't say it fell flat, because it was noticeable that they were trying to be this is their adventure to the ship. I'm not saying I needed it to be one take, but I am saying they needed to go a lot further than where they went if you had an overhead shot. Now, they failed to make it onto the ship, And in episode 4, they immediately get saved by Mobius and the TVA. However, we're opened with a little more backstory for Sylvie as well.
Yeah, I am kind of curious why the TVA wouldn't let them just die. Because they're both intended to be pruned or killed. They've basically been chasing Sylvie this whole time because she's been able to avoid apocalypses and, she's killing people off. So if they had just let the two of them die, kind of would have just solved their problems.
Yeah, absolutely. However, that comes with the mystery of the timekeepers and what they want with these variants, which has to do with some sort of Nexus event. So we've all watched the episodes. We know that the timekeepers are the timekeepers, which was pretty apparent, I think, to everyone that they didn't exist. But I did like the reveal in episode 3 that everyone at the TVA are actually variants and they didn't know it. Plus Sylvie's superpower of controlling someone through the mischief or deception of an actual memory in their life. That's actually a pretty cool power, and I like the way that they explain it. Which I think Loki will learn in this, so he can use it in the next Avengers movies or something. But in any case, I thought that was cool, but I do believe that whatever hidden motive that they haven't explained yet will explain why they wanted these two Lokis there. I don't know what it is, but it would be very obvious that it would be that. And I also knew that pruned wasn't actually death, because who says prune him to Owen Wilson?
Yeah, right.
Because because in that scene, I'm like, something bad's gonna happen, and prune him. I'm like, all right, what? He's not gonna die, whatever happens. And they stab him, like he's not dead, and they explain what it is later on.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they pseudo explain.
Yeah, they'll explain more later.
Right. They explain via the after credits sequence. When
is there anything you got to say before the after credits sequence?
I just don't even know how to talk about that episode because it's really bloated. Like, I understand what's going on, but it's really a pivot episode. Like, it's confirming a lot of suspicions that I had, but in terms of introducing like a fun new variable or a new setting or things like that, it's really short on that stuff.
Variable or variant?
No, introducing like new variables that would affect the world. It's kind of more just like character confirmations and espionage and things like this. So like, whereas the first 3 episodes moved into like really different settings and like world environmental conditions that like influence what the characters are doing, this is more an episode where the characters are having epiphanies and then trying to convince other characters of that. So it plays out in some drama back and forth from them, but it doesn't result in a lot of like on-screen pop.
Yeah. And of course, Marvel, they want the on-screen pop as much as possible. I'm trying to find the actress's name that plays the TVA agent that is in Lovecraft Country that I know much more well than this, and it is perfect timing. Wonmi Mosaku. Hey, we're going so old school with mandatory party hats that I get to mispronounce names again. But she plays. Shout out mandatory party hats. She plays Hunter B-15. This is the soldier, I'd say, the TVA soldier that never trusted Loki and blah, 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 blah. But eventually she is Sylvie talks her into getting on their side. And how she does that is by going into her memory. I have to mention this because I hated the lack of another setting or a scene where you could actually make this. You don't have to. It would make the character more three-dimensional, and I'm not asking for a more three-dimensional character, but I am asking for more of an impact, and that is Sylvie. Sylvie explains that everyone at the TVA are variants, and Hunter B-15 says, "I don't believe you. Show me." And she touches her, and she goes, "Oh, it's so beautiful." And she
I was so happy.
and they don't show it, and she immediately says, "How can I help?" or something like that. It's like, wait, that is a perfect opportunity to like reveal a little more about this character, or also reveal. It's not necessarily about her. I would personally like to learn more about her character, but it would also have more of an impact of like why this person is turning their back on an organization that she thought that she was born and bred into.
Yes. And I want to say, I think that
It's probably budget.
there's like a 3-prong issue for that. I think one is time. That, this is probably going to be 6 episodes, 8 episodes, something like that.
I think 6.
And then I think another issue is direction. I think that a lot of the actors just have a difficult time like acting within particular emotions or feelings or anything like that. They frequently seem to waver between emotions. I don't know exactly how to describe it because I'm better with describing like cinematography than I'm describing acting.
No, it's all right.
But I think
I'm listening to you, Dan.
The other problem is writing, and that we've been set up so far in this show to understand that like Loki's full of tricks. Oh, can't quite trust what he says. How are you supposed to believe? And because of that, I have a hard time finding myself investing in what anybody is saying at any given time, because it all could be bullshit. And because of that, even when Owen Wilson like comes back and he's like pulling Loki out of like the punishment loop that he had been stuck in, and he's like, I really need to know, like, is what you're saying true? I can't tell if he's like really saying that with sincerity or not, because I've been led up to this point to understand that everybody could just be speaking bullshit at any given time. And there isn't really like an emotional tell or hook that really like sets truth or like emotional truth apart from characters just confirming or denying something.
I never necessarily had that reaction to all of the characters, just Loki. And even though he's been like, because that's his thing, and we've known that. But like, I will say that that's been my same thing with him and Sylvie, and with the department head of TVA, because something's up with her, and we learned that as well. But I understand that aspect of thinking that, but I just never have thought that with anyone else. But it makes sense to think it that way too. But you did bring up another interesting point, which was they brought back Sif. Did you recognize Sif?
No, I didn't at all.
Sif is a character that was in Thor 1 and 2. She was the only female besides Thor's mom in the Thor movies, besides
really?
Ragnarok. And I'm pretty sure, and I don't know well about the comics, but she was, I want to say, like the comics, Thor's other female love interest that wasn't Jane Foster. Not sure. Point being, she disappeared from Thor Ragnarok without any word. And like, I think someone had to say in an interview was, oh, she was off doing something else. And they brought the actress back for this little memory thing with Loki. So that was actually kind of cool. And for the Always Sunny fans, that's Tammy, Trey's ex-girlfriend. This is classic Tammy. That's it. I know you won't understand that. You should understand that
But
someday,
now
though.
I'll know. Classic Tammy.
America, make sure that he does someday. But, yeah. Let's talk about that end credits scene.
I saw it and I was like, I recognize these faces. I don't know what this is supposed
I only recognize one.
imply. Weren't they like different various protectors of Asgard who were killed at some point throughout the different movies?
Okay, so first I'm going to go with my reaction. Oh, of fucking course, more Lokis. Why not? Because if there's one thing I really want is more Lokis, even though the thing I used to hate more before this conversation was fucking Loki. I have enough Loki. Stop with the Loki.
I thought that for a second, and I was like, surely they can't be doing that, because like Into the Spider-Verse did that so perfectly that nobody else should try it.
I do think that Spider-Verse and this may coincide somehow, because it's technically the same universe. But that's a different story. But fuck, dude, more Lokis. Come on, even a little fucking. I played it back. It's an alligator or a crocodile. I'm not sure what the difference is, but now they got a pet and a kid and Richard E. Grant in a really stupid outfit. But whatever. Dude, I was so angry. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope I love this next episode. But now, our last episode was, I have no expectations. Now my expectation is fuck all. I am not excited about this whatsoever.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I just think it's a multiverse of Lokis that et cetera, Rick and Morty multiverse, Citadel of Ricks.
Yeah.
Just I don't know what it is, and I don't care, because it's more Lokis. Having said that, maybe I'm going to be proven wrong and it ends up being something really, really cool. But at least we know that Owen Wilson isn't dead.
At least we know that
Mobius.
Mobius isn't dead, which is good, because I'd like for him to get more screen time, and especially just more screen time being Owen Wilson as Mobius, because I like that. It's just it's fun. It's fun. I really like that from the first two episodes.
However, he hasn't said "wow" once. Can you do? Oh wait, sorry. Stunna.
Oh my God, you win. Just already, you used too many. Anyway.
I said it once.
He did get the one line where
he didn't say wow once.
He didn't say wow once, but he did get the moment where like guards are carrying Loki away, and Mobius is like, "Oh, one more thing," and Loki says, "What more could it be? Some belittling remark, some way to bring me down even further?" And he's like, "No, you're just an asshole and kind of a bad friend." It's like, this is the most Owen Wilson-y line that's been in the show so far.
So far. There's at least 2 episodes left. All right, so your mouth has soured after these 2 episodes?
No, it's
unsurprising.
Yeah, it's not surprising. Again, if nobody wants to hear me harp on the same points for Marvel products,
hit that
we
X
said
button.
we weren't gonna. We'll redact your name. We'll bleep it out.
Fire,
in post.
Mackenzie.
But no, it's just that it's a typical third act problem, and we're not even in the third act of the show, but there's a lot of setup, and then it seems like the show has played its hand to me. And I know that there will be other like twists in terms of like, oh, the people behind the Time Lords were actually like this character all along, because there's always like some
sort of reveal.
inside traitorous reveal type thing. I will say, if I'm going to predict where this is going forward, I think that Marvel is in an apology stage for its previous products, and it's been a boys club for so long. I almost want to see ultimately the Tom Hiddleston's Loki make a sacrifice to be like, you know what, this isn't about me anymore. I've found purpose. And then Sylvie is introduced into the new canon for future films or whatever. So we're getting this kind of like recompense for especially killing Black Widow, and then like still glorifying the rest of the male canonical characters. But we're seeing that with Scarlet Witch being introduced as a key figure. We're seeing that with Captain Marvel coming in as a key figure.
Monica Rambeau.
I could see this happening with Sylvie too, and I think it'd be good. I think that'd be a fine way for this series to close out.
Fuck any version of Loki. I'm done. But yeah, dude, whatever. Get rid of Tom Hiddleston. I love you, Tom Hiddleston, but no. Why do we have to still have a Loki? There's so many characters in this universe.
This is entirely
that we're
true.
still harping on the same 7 characters that we've already been introduced to. Fucking get rid of them. I do believe you, though. I think you're right. I think that this character was not brought on for the show. Definitely brought on for actually equating a different gender to the male norm. But no, I'm Loki'd out.
I got
2 more episodes
if
in
it's
me.
the same kind of Loki, because like the thing that's been refreshing so far about Sylvie is that she isn't like the smug wink wink sly Loki. She is a kind of Loki that's been like, yeah, I have tricks up my sleeve, but only because my life has been fucking terrible and I've had to adapt.
I will agree with that. And I do like that she's an imperfect Loki, just like Loki. Specifically, I don't know if it was the opening scene, but it was one of the first scenes of the 3rd episode. But she's fighting in the TVA, and she tries to go in someone's. She explains why later, but she tries to go in someone's mind, and it didn't work, and he like hits her. And I like that, like, oh shit, what? Yeah. I like that. I like that she's not like just a badass. Well, she's trying. Yeah, whatever, sure. And like, I think like years down the line, it'll be like, did you know Anthony Wellman, famous movie director? Because that will happen.
That will happen.
Famous movie director said women suck because he didn't want to see another female in this movie. I never said that. I love that females are being integrated more, but I feel like I have to explain that I'm fucking done with Loki.
Yeah, I will also say that like these introductions for these characters, while cool, are still not the same as just finally giving them their own movies, their own like $175 million productions. It's like, we can develop these characters on the small screen, and when we bring them in, we'll probably just give like a little verbal 3-sentence recap. It's like, we've got Black Widow now. After you've killed the character, there's nowhere else for this character to go. It's basically just an apology film.
I think that the reason that they didn't give her like a proper like, oh my god, she's dead in Endgame was because they already knew about Black Widow. But I'll have to see the movie before figuring that out. I'm pretty excited for it because it's a Marvel movie and Rachel Weisz is in it, and I love Rachel Weisz. But I don't think that'll ever be redeemed, my man. I really don't.
Yeah,
that was bad.
That was bad. That was. Anyway, that's getting into a whole different side of
a whole nother Marvel universe that we will discuss July, like 10th, I think?
Yeah, it could be.
It's soon, finally.
It's soon. It's coming out. So, but it sounds like the show hasn't totally soured for you. And
course
that
not.
you might have liked episode 4 a little bit more than I did. But overall takeaways.
Good enough. I still like it more than Winter Soldier and Captain Falcon.
Oh, yeah.
And
easily.
I don't like Loki more, but I'm enduring him more tolerantly. I think I said that perfectly, I think. But I think the show will end with, yeah, it was good. But not like, yeah, it was great.
Yep.
but
and that's, I definitely agree. And if anybody wonders why I harp on these things over and over again, it's because they're consistently fine. Like, it's been so long that they've breached the fine marker and been like, wow, this was something I really loved.
Nah, no matter what, even though the second half was disappointing, WandaVision that was
solid.
their last great.
Yeah, I mean,
I loved it.
Right. WandaVision was really good. And I think that looking back at this point, I think that I probably liked WandaVision more than I liked Loki, but
I hope so. Well, never mind. The show isn't. Isn't even bad.
No, the show's not bad. Like, there are things that I really like about it.
But here's the thing about Marvel: how the fuck do we always end up in the same conversation?
That's what I'm
every
saying.
time?
Because it's ultimately it winds up being the same product every single time. They have this ongoing issue with third act structure that ties this more into...
we can't do this again.
This again. Okay, we've done this too many times.
I can't do it. I want to. This was supposed to be our shortest episode. I can't do it.
An hour again.
Yep, I know. I looked. It was 40 minutes before we got to the end credits. I'm like, fuck it, whatever. I don't care. Whatever. Hey, someone who watched it for every second and said I was surprised that it ended. Whatever. Fuck it. We'll do it for that guy, the fiery man. But no, I can't. We got to save that conversation for a movie again, because even though like we always learn something more from each other, because you had the great slushy line.
I'm running out of slushy lines.
You're running out of slushy lines. We got to save it. All right. We will see you guys next time. However, I still want to record this part, and if it doesn't end up that good or funny, we'll do it. But we're gonna play a little game. We'll see if it makes it into the final cut. If not, thanks for watching, guys. My name's Tony,
and my name's Dan.
We'll see you next time.
Finger guns.
You do that. Ugh. All right. And if you don't cut this out, Dan, I would still like to play a little bit of Marvel trivia. We won't do all 35 questions.
Let's do it. Give me the Marvel trivia.
How many Infinity Stones are there?
Wait, 5?
Is that your ultimate response?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you one more guess. Because think of the glove.
I am
actually, that doesn't.
6. Say
Correct.
6. Hey, you got one.
There's one like here.
Yeah, I forgot that. I was like, I know there's one on each knuckle,
Each
and
finger,
then one
yeah.
in the center.
Oh, okay. I looked at the answer already, but where is Captain America from? Ow.
Small town USA.
Think of Spider-Man.
Oh,
Or his interaction was.
I mean, New York is
Which
Brooklyn.
borough?
I thought he was Brooklyn.
Correct.
Hey,
You don't know this. I don't know it. But let's hear your thoughts. What does SHIELD stand for?
God, no! I could never. No.
No?
No,
Just fucking...
some
shitty...
heroes independently examine donuts.
Close. I say
forgot
some
the L in
heroes, because
there.
that was hilarious. Some heroes in every little domain.
That's pretty good.
I guess that's a sentence.
Learn the digital age.
Let's do 3 more. Yeah, you know that one. You know that one. This is less fun now. Which movie kicked off the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Iron Man.
I knew you knew that one. Who knows this and who cares? Pepper Potts is allergic to what?
Paprika.
Pepper.
Oh, well.
Nah,
Hey.
it's strawberries. That was a lie. This bit isn't doing very well. What? Who founded Sword?
Monica Rambeau's mom.
Damn.
Hey.
We'll end on that note because I was going to interrupt your thought process with what is Sword, because I didn't think you knew what it was, but yeah.
There is absolutely no chance I could tell you the
It's
acronym.
Faux Shield.
It's Faux Shield. That's entirely true.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
if you guys made it that far, I doubt that we're going to have that in, but thank you for watching. Can I get one more of the things?
What?